Good day, everyone. I am Kay Russell Kiefer Melies, a second year student from BSED English. And now I will be discussing the learner diversity and development with the consideration for the language classroom and beyond. An all-inclusive package is not an option in language teaching and learning once we take personal and cultural diversity into account. Individual and cultural diversity influence language learning decisions and choices. So, if the teachers desire to respond to each learner's needs and interests, they must be aware of and sensitive to the diversity of learners. So, it is essential to acknowledge the diversity of learners when organizing successful education. You know what? Personal histories and experiences should be emphasized among students. Apart from emphasizing diversity, accommodate students' different backgrounds and learning styles by providing them with personal choice and decision-making options about what they study and how they will learn from it. And also, teachers should purposely have variety in measuring and evaluating student learning by organizing small discussion groups of students from different backgrounds with different learning styles, like multiple intelligences, and so on. Okay, good language learners. So, do you think there is such a thing as a good language learner and therefore a bad language learner? If so, what do you think are the characteristics of good L2 learners? For example, good at guessing, willing to practice, focus on grammar, like that. So now the question is, are you a good or bad language learner? So according to Rubin, there are 7 characteristics of a good language learners. So the first one is are willing and accurate guessers who are comfortable with uncertainty. You know what? Uncertainty develops when we are in unfamiliar circumstances, such as a move or a new job, or when we are in like uncertain scenarios such as a job interview, medical exam, an injury, or the chance of job layoffs, like that. Uncertainty also is always a gift. Why? Because when we accept the uncertainty, it helps us comprehend our fears. So when we learn how to communicate with uncertainty, we are communicating with the core of ourselves. Every action we make contains the potential for progress. So if you are a competent language learner, you are not scared to adapt in order to progress. Next one. is have a strong drive to communicate or to learn from communication and are willing to do many things to get their message across. So being brave enough to communicate is a future as a future educator is important for various reasons. One of which is that effective communication is necessary for creating strong connections with students, peers, and also the parents. You know what? By being bold in communicating, we may build trust and create an open environment in which our students feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and ideas. Next is are often not inhibited and are willing to appear foolish if reasonable communication results. You know what? When someone is not inhibited and is willing to appear foolish if reasonable communication results, it means that they are open and unafraid to express their thoughts and ideas, even if it means risking embarrassment or being perceived as less knowledgeable. Also, this attitude can be beneficial in many ways. First, it allows for more authentic and meaningful communication. When we are willing to put ourselves out there and be vulnerable, we can connect with others on a deeper level and have more genuine conversations. Second, being willing to appear foolish can help us learn and grow by acknowledging that we don't have all the answers. We create space for ourselves to make mistakes and also learn from them. However, while being open and vulnerable can be beneficial, it's also important to maintain a level of professionalism and respect in our communication. Yes, it's important to consider the context and audience when deciding how to express ourselves and to always strive to communicate in a clear and effective manner. Next is are prepared to attend to form, constantly looking for patterns in the language. You know what? These people may be more sensitive to linguistic details such as grammar, what else? Syntax, and also vocabulary. And they may be good at spotting patterns and structures in speech and writing. They may also be interested in the history of language, the link between language and culture, and how language may be used to transmit meaning and express identity. Next, the fifth one is practice and also seek out opportunities to practice. You know what? People who consistently practice or are more likely to be disciplined and focused. Yes, they could have a strong work ethic and be prepared to put in the time and effort needed to attain their goals. They may also be very, what they call this, very self motivated, like creating their own goals and working alone to achieve them. Next is monitor their own speech and the speech of others, constantly attending to how well their speech is being received and whether their performance meets the standards they have learned. You know what? Monitoring one's own and others' speech is an important part of good communication. Why? Because it entails paying great attention to the language we use, how we use it, and how others comprehend it. We may discover areas for improvement, alter our communication style as necessary, and verify that our performance fulfills the criteria we have learned by evaluating our own and others' speech. And the last one is, the seventh one is to attend to meaning, knowing that in order to understand a message, it is not sufficient to attend only to the grammar or surface from a form of a language. Yes, it's true. Okay. The seventh one is attention to meaning entails focusing on the intended message behind the words rather than the language surface form or syntax. You know what? To properly comprehend a message, it is necessary to consider the meaning and the context of a message. Yes, as well as the grammatical and syntactical structure of a language. Also, when we are understanding a message, attending to meaning entails taking into consideration aspects such as the uh, tone, the body language, cultural context, and also the speaker's intent. It also entails recognizing possible barriers to understanding, such as linguistic or cultural differences, and attempting to overcome those gaps. So, those are the seven characteristics we have to adapt for us to be a good language learners as a future educator. So, next, so what is language learning strategy? So, according to Oxford, they are specific actions taken by the learner to make learning easier, faster, more enjoyable, more self-directed, more effective, and more transferable to new situations. However, the concept of learning strategies has also been described as elusive and immensely ambiguous. So, what does it mean? Language learning methods are the tactics and approaches that students employ to improve their language abilities. So, there are several techniques available to students, including the vocabulary learning strategies, grammar learning strategies, listening comprehension strategies, reading comprehension strategies, speaking, writing, social strategies. It means techniques for connecting with others in the target language, such as finding language partners, participating in language exchange programs, and also conversing with native speakers. And lastly, the metacognitive strategies. It includes methods to monitoring and managing one's own learning, such as goal setting, self assessment, and reflection on one's learning process. So, overall, language learning methods are essential tools for learners to use in order to improve their language abilities and reach their language learning objectives. Also, learners can increase their language competency and build confidence in using the language in real world settings by combining diverse tactics that work best for them. So, next, reflections on learner training. So, in what ways do you teach learners how to learn in your professional classroom setting? Like, how far do you go in terms of learning training? So, autonomy is one of the ways to teach learners how to learn because it emphasizes the importance of learners taking an active role in their own learning process. So, learners that are autonomous have the ability to regulate their own learning, establish their own objectives, and select the tactics and resources that work best for them. Also, teachers can help students build the skills and habits they need to become lifelong learners by encouraging learner autonomy. You know what? Autonomy enables learners to be autonomous and self directed. Why? In order to take responsibility for their own learning and to acquire the critical thinking and problem solving abilities required for success in the 21st century. Also, autonomy also assists learners in developing a sense of ownership and drive for their studies. Because when learners have a greater control over their learning, they are more likely to be interested and motivated to study. And this can lead to deeper learning and better outcomes as learners become more involved in their own growth and take pride in their accomplishments. Next, autonomy promotes the development and metacognitive skills such as self reflection and self assessment. So, moreover, autonomy fosters the development of metacognitive abilities like self reflection and self assessment. You know what? Autonomy helps learners become more aware of their strengths and limitations and develop methods for improving their performance by um, like enabling them to reflect in their on their own learning process and analyze their own progress. So overall, autonomy is an excellent technique that teach learners how to learn because it enables them to take charge of their own learning, stimulates motivation and engagement, and also supports the development of critical thinking, problem solving, and the metacognition abilities. So that's it. Thank you for listening. I hope that you learned something today from my discussion. So that's my topic, the learner diversity and development considerations with the consideration for the language, classroom, and beyond. Thank you for listening again, everyone.